It's Tuesday, and the clouds hanging over Celtic Park don't look like they're going away so soon. The mood? Grim. The feeling? A mix of frustration, confusion, and, above all, fatigue. Celtic seem trapped in a cycle of underperformance and finger-pointing, and right now, it feels like everyone, from the boardroom to the dugout to the pitch, is stuck in a rut they can't dig themselves out of. Sunday's draw at Dens Park wasn't just another poor result. It was a symptom of something deeper. You could feel it in the atmosphere, the silence between chants, the lack of spark on the pitch, and the looks of resignation on the faces of the traveling support. It's not just about one match anymore. This is about a team and a club that look like they've lost their direction. There's been a flood of reaction, especially after Monday's show, and let me tell you, it's not just noise. These are fans who are paying attention, who see beyond the 90 minutes, who understand when something is fundamentally off. And when you read through those comments, there's a theme emerging. One word keeps popping up: apathy. Let's talk about Brendan Rodgers. A lot of people, and I mean a lot, are questioning what's going on with the manager. Jungle Jim 67, for example, summed it up by saying that Rodgers is not just dealing with the problems left behind by the board, he's adding to them. Sticking rigidly to the same shape, the same players, week in, week out. Playing guys clearly out of form. Talking down the squad in public interviews like he's preparing his own exit strategy. And honestly, it's hard to disagree. When you look at the way the team plays now, it's as if everyone's just going through the motions. But let's not pretend this is all on Rodgers. The board haven't exactly covered themselves in glory either. 2 absolutely woeful transfer windows, repeated warnings ignored, and a strategy that's clearly not delivering. The squad looks unbalanced, thin in key areas, and frankly lacking the hunger we used to take for granted in a Celtic side. But when Rodgers keeps sending out the same lineup, despite seeing the same problems every week, you start to question if he's really willing to shake things up. Or has he already checked out mentally? There's this weird acceptance setting in, like everyone knows the machine is broken, but nobody wants to stop and fix it. The manager says he has no choice but to work with the players he's got, but then he doesn't really work with them. He just keeps throwing them out there and hoping something clicks. Where's the bravery? Where's the adaptability we used to praise him for? This is the guy who once benched Steven Gerrard at Anfield. Now he won't even consider dropping Callum McGregor or Schmeichel. And listen, this isn't about disrespecting those players. McGregor is a club icon, no question. But if your midfield is falling apart every week, at some point you have to stop saying, "We'll work harder," and start changing something. Because working harder doesn't fix broken tactics. It doesn't make tired legs fresh again. It doesn't make predictable lineups unpredictable. A lot of supporters have hit their breaking point. Richie Sharp asked a pretty valid question. What exactly is Rodgers watching when he reviews these matches? Because to most of us, the issues are glaring. Young, Hitati, Ralston, how many more games do we need to watch before admitting this isn't working? And it's not just individual performances. It's the whole setup that looks off. Midfield is flat, the forward line lacks bite, and the back four looks nervous and disconnected. And then you look at the bench. Sure, it's not stacked with stars. But is it really worse than watching the same underperforming 11 again and again? What would happen if Rodgers actually took a risk, made some bold choices, and gave minutes to hungrier, younger players who still have something to prove? Would it be perfect? Probably not. But right now, what we're seeing isn't working either. And doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, well, you know what that is. Even the supporters are tired. Nathan, who goes home and away, including Europe, said it best. He can't even get excited for matches anymore. There's no spark, no hope, just the sense that this is going to get worse before it gets better. That's a rough place to be in for a fan base that's so used to being the 12th man, pushing the team over the line. You can feel that disconnect growing. And while we're at it, let's talk about Sunday's protest. Tangerines and balls being thrown onto the pitch, holding up play at kickoff. It definitely got people talking. But here's the thing. It's a reflection of just how angry and disillusioned the fans are. The Celtic fans collective clearly wanted to make a point, and they did. Loudly, visibly, and directly aimed at the boardroom. No punches pulled. They're calling for real change. And while not everyone agrees with the method, the message is impossible to ignore. There's even more happening off the pitch. The collective had a meeting last Thursday to discuss how to keep the pressure on the board while keeping fans united and not disrupting the team too much. There's a real effort now to protest in a smarter way. Pre-kickoff actions, coordinated 12th-minute gestures, and a possible large visual display before the AGM. These aren't just angry tweets. This is organized discontent, structured dissent. 2 formal resolutions are being lined up for the AGM. One demands the board present a strategic, long-term plan. The other straight up says the board has failed and needs to resign. That's not just noise anymore. That's fans stepping up and holding the people in charge accountable. And then there's the Not Another Penny campaign. No more merch. No more food or drink at Celtic Park. No stadium tours. No club-run events. Nothing beyond a match ticket. It's not about hurting the team. It's about sending a message. And even if only 20% of supporters follow through, that's a serious dent in revenue. That's pressure. That's visibility. That's action. And honestly, it feels like we're at that point. The tipping point. The club is crying out for leadership and change, on the pitch and in the boardroom. Because this isn't just about form or tactics anymore. It's about identity. It's about a club that feels adrift, a support that feels unheard, and a manager who looks like he's lost the fire that made him special in the first place. The next match? European night under the lights. Normally that's something to savor. But right now, there's dread mixed in. Will we see the same tired lineup? The same flat midfield? The same lack of urgency? Or will Rodgers finally pull the trigger on some big changes and give the fans something to believe in again? Because belief, that's what's missing right now. Belief that things can change. That someone is willing to take risks and shake things up. That Celtic still stands for something more than just showing up and hoping for the best. The problem isn't just tactics or injuries or 1 or 2 players being off their game. It's the full picture. The team, the manager, the recruitment, the atmosphere, even the connection between the support and the club, it's all fraying. And when everything starts to go at once, it's hard to find your footing again. That's where Celtic are right now. No rhythm, no fire, and no clear route forward. When Callum McGregor came out after the game and gave the usual lines about working harder, sticking together, and proving people wrong, nobody really bought into it. Not because he's a bad captain, far from it. McGregor's given everything to this club, but these same quotes have become background noise. It's like pressing play on a broken record after every poor result. And the truth is, fans don't need hollow words anymore. They need action. They need to see something different, something brave, something that tells them the people running this team still care as much as they do. And that's why the calls for change in the starting 11 are growing louder. This isn't just about giving younger players a shot for the sake of it. It's about rediscovering hunger. It's about putting a team on the pitch that reflects the values Celtic fans expect: intensity, purpose, ambition. Right now, the lineup feels stale, predictable, safe. And safe isn't going to get us out of this mess. What if we did make those big changes? What if we gave some of the fringe players a proper chance? Names like Donovan, Murray, Bernardo, even Tenke and Ballack, lads who might not be seasoned yet, but who've not had their chance to show what they can do over a sustained run. Players who might actually want to fight for their place, who aren't just sleepwalking through games, feeling like their name's already on the team sheet no matter what happens. Yes, there's risk. Of course there is. You're not going to throw together a completely new team and expect perfection. But what we've got now isn't working either. The midfield trio of McGregor, Hitati, and Negrin, it's been tried over and over, and every time it looks more labored. And that's not even a dig at their individual quality. They're good footballers, but they're part of a system that's lost its way, and they look like they've been dragged down with it. The frustration is growing because fans aren't stupid. They see the potential in this squad. They know the money the club pulls in. They've watched years of titles, of trophies, of dominance. And to go from that to this, a team that looks half-hearted, a manager who looks uncertain, and a board who look entirely absent, it's more than just disappointing. It's insulting. And while we're talking about the board, let's not forget that they've had warnings. The warning signs were there at the end of last season. They were there during the summer window. Yet they stuck to the same script, trusting a recruitment model that's clearly not delivering. You can talk all day about sustainability and balance sheets, but what's the point of financial health if the football is dying on the pitch? That's where the protests come in. That's where the anger is born. Because fans are watching a club sleepwalk its way through a season that could still be salvaged if the right decisions were made. But instead, It feels like every part of the club is paralyzed, waiting, hoping, but not acting. The Celtic fans' collective stepping forward and taking action is just the beginning. Their protest with the Tangerines might have split opinion, but it made headlines. It started conversations, and it reminded people that Celtic supporters will never be passive. This isn't a fan base that watches in silence. When things go wrong, they speak. Loudly, publicly, and with purpose. The bigger question now is, will anyone inside Celtic Park actually listen? There's been criticism that the protests are too similar to what the Green Brigade have done in the past. Maybe that's fair. Maybe the collective still needs to find its own voice. But at least they're doing something. At least they're trying to hold power to account. That's more than can be said for some of the people sitting in suits in the director's box. And now with the AGM approaching, pressure is only going to grow. The proposed resolutions aren't just symbolic. They're direct challenges to the way this club is being run. Fans are no longer asking politely. They're demanding strategy, vision, accountability. They want to know where Celtic is going, not just this season, but over the next 5, 10 years. Because right now, it looks like no one has a plan beyond getting through the next match without disaster. And let's not sugarcoat it, disaster feels close. The way this team is playing, you wouldn't bet on them to go into Tynecastle on Sunday and come away with anything. European nights are supposed to be something special at Celtic Park. But does anyone feel excited about facing Sturm Graz? Or are we already bracing for the worst? What's missing from the club right now is boldness. Not just from Brendan Rodgers, but from everyone. Boldness to admit mistakes. Boldness to try something new. Boldness to put the football first again, instead of hiding behind press releases and vague statements about strategy. Brendan used to be that guy. The manager who took risks. Who made tough calls. Who didn't care about egos or reputations if it meant getting results. But somewhere along the way, that spark seems to have dimmed. Now, he looks like a man playing it safe, maybe to protect his job, maybe because he doesn't believe the tools are there to make a real change. But safe isn't working. Not anymore. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The rumor mill at Parkhead has gone into overdrive this week as whispers circulate that Jack Hendry is set to don the famous green and white hoops once more. It's the kind of news that makes Celtic fans' hearts skip a beat. Though, as ever with these things, caution is the order of the day. Sources close to the club suggest that Hendry, who has been plying his trade elsewhere, could be on the verge of a sensational return that would bolster Ange Postecoglou's defensive ranks. For those who followed Hendry's career, it's a move that feels both surprising and inevitable. The towering center-back made a mark in his previous spell with the Hoops, blending physicality with an eye for a crucial interception and leaving a door slightly ajar for a possible comeback. Fans have been dreaming about a reunion ever since reports of his availability started circulating in recent weeks, and now, the chatter has taken on an almost feverish tone. The story goes that negotiations have been quietly underway, with Celtic keen to strengthen their backline ahead of a grueling run of domestic and European fixtures. While no official word has been uttered, insiders hint that the club and player are in talks over personal terms, and that a deal could be struck sooner rather than later. If Hendry does return, it would not only be a tactical boost, but also a huge morale lift for a squad eager to maintain their grip on the Premiership and push further in Europe. Of course, Parkhead insiders are keeping stum, unwilling to confirm anything until papers are signed and signatures are wet. Yet, in the pubs and on social media, the buzz is unmistakable. The prospect of Hendry slipping back into the Celtic jersey has supporters speculating on everything from defensive pairings to set-piece strategies. Some see him as the missing piece in a puzzle that's yet to fully click, while others simply relish the idea of seeing a familiar face back on the pitch. Whether this rumor will materialize or fizzle out remains to be seen, but for now, Celtic fans are in the grip of a tantalizing what-if scenario. Jack Hendry back at Parkhead? Stranger things have happened in football, and if this one comes off, it could be a headline-grabbing coup for the Hoops. Keep your eyes peeled. This is the kind of story that could explode at any moment, leaving the Scottish Premiership buzzing well into the winter. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.